Hello, Dr. Michael Fisher here, virologist, educator, political critic, cultural critic, philosophical critic. Someone who is paying attention to the news these days, and I don't watch much, and I don't blame you if you don't. But when I do watch it on small occasions, like I did today, a couple days ago, Tulsi Gabbard, who is the U.S. Director of National Intelligence under the Trump administration, and a very controversial figure to say the least. Won't go into that today per se, but she has released a video on her own private X account. And it's a 3.5 minute, well done production documentary. I have not seen it because I'm not on X social media. And I've seen clips of it. And the main clips and the parts of the video are sounds good, what she just announced, because she was in Hiroshima and the whole idea of the nuclear holocaust that occurred there. And she's got a peace base to her politics and her ethics and the use of military. Ultimately, that she doesn't want anybody to live in fear of nuclear war, as I'm quoting her in the video. And she also says at the same time, so that to me is the positive side. And she says at the same time, which sounds okay to say it, but I'm going to problematize this a bit. Then she says, we're at the worst or most extreme, paraphrasing, time in human history of nearness, of readiness, and snap of the fingers to a nuclear holocaust. In other words, a global World War III, nuclear bombs led, which will virtually annihilate everyone mostly, and except perhaps those who are the elites that can get into bunkers. So I immediately thought, okay, why is this being released today? Okay, so she just got back from her trip. She's releasing this video really rapidly after her trip. But let's keep in mind, it's been known for a couple of weeks now that a massive US protest of people of all kinds, and I'm going to suggest some left, a lot of neutral center, and a lot of on the right. So a whole mix of political genre of people are going to be in these protests. 1,800 plus protests are predicted according to the news reports, and it's called the No King resistance. Yeah, this is called a massive protest. And recently, Trump just said protesters hate this country. I'm quoting him. When he was asked about his military parade, yeah, first military parade in America on a grand scale, the kind you would see in any dictatorship military coup country. Tanks on the streets in massive, massive numbers. They are all now pouring in those tanks into Washington. The parade is on, and Trump says anyone who are protesters will be treated as people who hate America, and we will use great force against them. You see the combination? Military parade, the No King protest all this weekend, which is not going to make Trump look good, not going to look liked. And then he's going to put on his massive parade, military parade in Washington. And you've got this combination with Tulsi Gabbard putting out that we are in the most dangerous time in human history. And here's the intelligence director. She supposedly has got all the information, or most of it, on what's happening on the war scenes and the conflict scenes around the world. And she's saying global elites are controlling, this potential for this nuclear holocaust. She didn't talk about which governments. She didn't talk about who are the good ones and the bad ones in that power play of nuclear weapons. And yet, you've got a military dictator leader ready to go to war, ready to use military on American citizens, you name it, in office. And this is all happening in one weekend, those three. So that's why I'm doing the video. And it's not a long video. I'm trying to make the point of, okay, so who's fear mongering here, right? In other words, who's creating this fear mongering, this culture of fear dynamic? That's my expertise. And so I'm just giving you a heads up. If you pay attention and watch this weekend, we're going into something very interesting here. A lot of energy swirling on all possibilities that could come out of it. And yes, are people terrified? You have a right to be terrified if you just listen to what I just told you of these three forces, these three activities and happenings coming this weekend. A good terror. As my friend, the philosopher Samuel N. Gillian used to say, there's a good terror and there's a too terrified that becomes negative terror, panic, dread, anxiousness that creates all kinds of horrible outcomes in terms of violence against the other and or the self. I'm not going to go into that theory of what is a healthy fear, healthy slash terror, compared to an unhealthy one. But I've written lots on that, and you can check out my YouTubes as well as many articles on Google Scholar on these topics of fearism, terrorism, etc. But this weekend, I'm giving you the heads up that on the positive side of watching, if you get a chance to watch that Tulsi Gabbard video, and I suggest you do if you feel up to it, because she does not fearmonger in the overt way at all that I can tell. And I'm not saying there isn't some of those elements in there. There very well may. I haven't seen the videos, I'm telling you. But the excerpts I saw, she speaks about the empowerment of the people standing up. She calls the people. She's calling people. She's calling citizens to stand up and tell your government, tell your leaders that you do not want nuclear war. You do not want anything near it. That is not why you elected them as your representatives in government. So that's good. See, when someone puts that out and empowers the people, that's not an overt, typical fear mongering. That is a warning and a cautionary, yes. Now, here's the shadow side I picked up. And this comes because I've studied during the post 9/11 era and the coming of the use by the Homeland Security, the US, President Bush at that time, Jr., who instigated the terrorist alert system. Remember that? The red, orange, yellow, green flag system. And they would announce, we're at level orange, we're at level yellow, we're at red. Be alert, everybody. But of course, there was no constructive dialogue, no details given, no information to process. It was they had control of the system and turning on the light, the hot light to the cool light. And it was mostly always on hot post 9/11. For a couple of years, that system was used and arguably caused more terror in the United States than any terrorist attack has ever done. And there's a lot of critics, including myself, who have documented why that would be the case. We are terrorizing people in a too negatively sense way for too chronically long, using systems of fear mongering like that do not empower people, but basically get people to depend on that authority of who knows how worse, how bad it is or is getting, and just depend on them and listen to them and hook onto them as authorities and become this deluded, if not entranced and hypnotized. Yes, that's what they do. That's what fear mongering does when it's done well. And these people know how to manipulate media to get your fear brain activated and hooked to their authority power. And they will tell you, and then you're going to rely on them for your safety and security. This is incredibly terrifying and disempowering, and it creates an incredible insecurity within the self to be able to actualize your own agency and your own decision making, your own knowledge gathering with your people, the people you trust, rather than these great authoritarian dictator leaders and their institutions. So here, Tulsi Gabbard, I think, is bringing this video also at a time warning us, and she does gravely, and she shows film gravely bits of looking like a nuclear bomb was just dropped in San Francisco, and here's what happens to the San Francisco bridge. You know, it's all animated, but it's very realistic. Well, she's going a little over the top now. Now she's going to scare you deeply, deeply, deeply with that kind of imagery. Whoever put that production together, we don't know. I do not know. Be interesting to find out. I'm sure there'll be news critics and journalists searching for who put that video out and why and who ordered it, etc. It looks good, as I say, on one hand, but the other hand is on this same weekend where Trump is not going to look good as an authoritarian leader because of this massive no king resistance movement. She puts it out and says, hey, everybody, this is the message I get from the subversion of the messaging of so-called peace from nuclear war. Tulsi Gabbard has really put in perfect timing that, well, basically you better trust our leader because he's going to be the leader that's going to save, help to not have a nuclear war. Well, she started saying that. If you think about what she's saying, she's kind of breeding that. And she's also breeding the old terrorist alert flag. She's bringing it back. See, she's going to tell us now just how dangerous it is. No, other people have been doing that too that are not in government. There's nuclear activist groups and so on have been saying how dangerous it is. But here is, the government leader now. She's getting control and she gets 3.5 million people following her on X, just for example, never mind passing that out, that video. And she's saying, listen to me. I'm going to tell you how dangerous we are at. So listen to me again when I put out another message on X, or if I speak in public, or I speak here or there. And by the way, I am the mouthpiece for Donald Trump. Why? Because she was hired by him. She wanted to be his intelligence director. She moved from Democrat to Republican during this last election. Lots of controversy, lots of motivational questions. I'm not going to go on speculating about it all. This is the weekend that we all, viewers here, at least today, I'm basically saying we can watch carefully and we can watch intelligently or not watch or contemplate and figure out and think about how we're going to manage fear, be told about dangers in the world, how we're going to process that, how we're going to communicate and build a network so that we can actually heal through the traumatic aspects of all of what's going to go on this weekend. As I say, we're going to see some good, hopeful, inspiring, and we're going to see a lot of the exact opposite moving in great forces. And are they coming together on the same weekend for a reason? Yes, they are. It's like a big showdown. But Tulsi Gabbard has come in with the big one. That's my point today. She came in with the big one, the nuclear holocaust. And she's saying it's that close, never been this close before. Listen to me, watch me. I will try to warn you, and I'll be your protector. Well, she's hired to be protector of the United States' security. So she's got the legitimacy to be and play that role out. How is she going to play it out? And how aware is she going to be aware that she is now becoming the new alert system? Yeah. How's she going to play that? And it's going to ripple a lot of post 9/11 trauma, the post traumatic reaction for those years of using those systems of an authoritarian controlling the level of risk, supposedly. So we'll see how it all plays out. We'll see. I'm not depending on her or anyone to help us really do good fear management, do the healing we need of this trauma, this chronic terrorization, fearization that's been going on, very unhealthy fear mongering for decades now, but in particularly in the last 20 years. Okay, thanks for listening today. If you have any questions, inquiries, and discussion, here's where we can empower ourselves. And I'll do my best as an educator, a fear educator, to guide you on the path of fearlessness and or any other path you want to walk. It doesn't have to be that path. It could be any path of emancipatory, non-fear-based living. Again, that doesn't mean not acknowledging healthy fear and terror when it's needed and required and is actually quite normal to be that way, but not be controlled and run by it in a chronic, toxic way. Okay, let's watch this weekend. Let's pay attention. Again, those who want to tune in with me, I'll probably do another video after it, just to do a summary of what I think is going on. So I'll be watching and listening.